They and their teams make such an extraordinary difference to so many millions of children's lives. And my great privilege now is to introduce one of the most important country representatives in UNICEF's history, who's been a country representative now in Nigeria, but also before that in Mongolia, but has worked in some of the toughest places: Afghanistan, the DIC, Haiti, and the Central African Republic. You all know him very well, Mohamed.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues and friends. Good afternoon to all those colleagues who I have not seen for a long time. And thank you, PFP, for giving me the opportunity to see them by inviting me in this forum. In fact, when I was approached by the colleagues in PFP to make today's presentation, without hesitation, I say yes. Yes, because I was thinking it was a PowerPoint presentation or a speech to be delivered on a specific topic, like we know how to do it in UN, because this is part of our daily life. Later on, I discovered that it was neither a PowerPoint nor a speech, and they told me it was going to be an inspirational talk. I'm not sure that I will inspire you tonight, but I say, let me take on this challenge and share with you a bit of my life career, share with you our daily life in the field, and share with you some of the results that UNICEF is getting for children in the most difficult circumstances. I must say that I have been fortunate throughout my career to be posted in some of the most difficult duty stations. I have been also fortunate to encounter and come across some of our most dedicated colleagues. I started with UNICEF as a national officer. And my first international posting was Kabul in Afghanistan in January 2002, when the Taliban was just pushed out of the city. You all remember it. There, I remember not only the devastation that I have witnessed following 2 decades of war, but I have also remembered how extremism, lack of tolerance, false belief can lead to the most extreme denial and abuse of human rights, including the right of children. I will never, ever forget seeing those young girls throughout all their primary education confined into what was called home-based school, just because Taliban wouldn't allow them to go to school, because for them, young girls don't have right to go to school. From Afghanistan, I moved to DRC, where I have seen, following a war and a conflict which was originated from the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, a country being devastated by a conflict that have led to more than 4.2 million people killed. A country whose half was completely at the mercy of the warlord and the leader of the armed group, where most of the basic social services was destroyed, where I have seen also the highest and the most horrific number of women's victims of rape, of women's victims of all sorts of gender-based violence. From DRC, I was part of the emergency response team that was put in place to come and work in the aftermath of one of the biggest tsunami of the modern time, which has completely wiped out all the northern and the coastal area of northern Sumatra, leaving in one day more than 250 people killed, and countless number of children separated or orphans. An unbelievable level of social distress, which puts, of course, in our hands the responsibility of working on the recovery, of providing the needed psychosocial support, and rebuilding the school system. After a short move in Jakarta, I have been called to another disaster of a big magnitude this time too, and which has hit the most poor country on the Western Hemisphere, which was in Haiti, where in one afternoon, in few seconds, more than 250,000 people were killed. Over 2 million people in few seconds lost their home and become hopeless. From Haiti, I served for the first time in my capacity of country team manager, and it was in Mongolia. I kind of enjoy a bit of stability when it comes to getting or seeing children accessing to basic social services. But where too, climate change, extreme weather had confronted me and exposed me to some of the most extreme human suffering. Where I have seen when temperature fall below -50, nomadic herders whose totally life was depending on their cattle could lose it in one single day, and left only with the option of committing suicide or going in swelling the slum of Ulaanbaatar. I have seen there children fleeing the dormitory of the boarding school into which they were taken, taking the risk of their life to go through the worst winter storm just because they wanted to find out about the well-being and the whereabouts of their parents, or they wanted to find out about the baby animals they were playing during their previous summer vacation. From Mongolia, I moved to Central African Republic, where I was confronted with one of the deadliest interreligious violence. In less than a year, 6,000 people were killed just because of their religious affiliation. 20% of the population was in displacement, internally and in the neighboring countries. Massive recruitment of child soldiers. The overall basic social services had collapsed together with the governance system. Today, where I am in Nigeria, mainly in the northeastern part, that's the same challenge I am seeing. The conflict with Boko Haram started in 2009. Since then, what do we have in front of us? 20,000 people have been killed, 1.7 million people displaced, 1,000 schools destroyed, over 600 teachers killed, around 4.5 million in food insecurity, over 450,000 children severely and acutely malnourished, 10,000 children enrolled in the armed group, 50,000 children orphaned or unaccompanied, and a countless number of women victims of rape or all sorts of gender-based violence. All this challenge I have described has put a huge strain and a huge stress on me and on my colleagues. Strain and stress on our life, strain and stress on our health, strain and stress on our well-being. It was not only us confronted with these difficulties in the battle line front that have been affected. Our family too were affected. Not only because they could not be with us, because those places were non-family duty station. Because all day long, they keep hearing in the news about atrocity, mass killing, suicide attack, or disease killing so many people in those places where we are serving. I can't count or remember the number of times my daughter, my son, who was just above 10 years old, would call me and ask me, Dad, are you safe? Are you safe in Bangui? Your name being Mohamed, Muslims are being killed and targeted and killed. Today, anytime I'm traveling to Maiduguri, which I do often because of the response we have there, they would call and say, Dad, will you be safe? Will you be safe? Because all day long we hear about suicide attack committed by Boko Haram in Maiduguri. I think being in all these places have confronted us with the extreme suffering of human being. It has shown us the ugliest face of human being. But looking back around it and looking back year after, I feel and I come to the conclusion that myself and my colleague who have been serving UNICEF on those areas have been fortunate. We have been fortunate because it's in those places that UNICEF is most appreciated. It is in those places that UNICEF added value is highest. It is in those places that UNICEF transformative dimension and enabling power is much stronger. It takes what? Supplies that are not very costly, cash amount that are not very high for UNICEF and its staff to completely change and turn around life of thousands of children in a very short time. I will always remember that when in Afghanistan, we first in 2002 launched the Back to School in the aftermath of the Taliban. The target was set at 1.2 million, trying to be realistic and based on the assessment of the capacity of the education system. We end up getting 3.2 million children that was offered education and learning space in Afghanistan. I have seen the same UNICEF being able to boost the demand of education in a place like CAR, in a place like DRC, in a place like Haiti, in a place even like the northeast of Nigeria, where Boko Haram threatens or kills everyone who is associated with Western education. In all those places, I have seen UNICEF being able not only to boost the demand of education, but to put in place the supply that those children needed to be able to go to education, which they could not do because of denial, because of security, because of poor parents, or because of capacity in access, which was extremely limited. I have seen a child severely malnourished to the point that no one will bet a penny that that child will survive the next few hours. Coming back to life, eating normally, smiling again, simply because UNICEF has helped to provide a simple protocol made of therapeutic food, micronutrient power, and antibiotic. I have seen in places where children, after being separated from their parents, children being separated from their communities, enroll in armed group, maintain in detention center, coming back to school, rediscovering their ability to smile, simply through protocol of psychosocial support that was provided to them by UNICEF staff in a child-friendly space or a recreational area in an IDP setting. I have seen in CAR, at a time where the crisis was at its peak, and at a time where teachers had to run away from the village they were serving and the school they were managing, simply because of their religious faith or their ethnic background. I have seen communities stepping up, taking the classroom, running it, not because they have the right qualification, but simply they wanted to send the message that they don't want the education system to be let down. To which UNICEF responded by providing the required incentive, providing the required support, and that of a chance of to thousands of children to be able to go to school. Across all this example and memory I have just shared with you, I think there is only one most and single important thing I would remember, and I would remember for the rest of my life. It's that hope, it's that joy that you see shining through the eye of those children that will benefit from UNICEF support. It is the hope that was triggered in their parents to believe in better life and to believe in brighter future. This has led me to the conclusion that if I look back to UNICEF, I see how good we are in deploying supply and distributing it into the most extreme condition. How good we are in providing cash to communities that are most needed. How good we are in training partners in order to build their capacity or strengthening their resistance. How good we are in providing small repair or physical rehabilitation in the aftermath of a disaster. But all I see that we need to emphasize, we need to focus on as we move forward, it is the single ability of UNICEF of bringing back hope to the most suffering community, of getting those communities back onto their feet. I have seen in the aftermath of all crises I have worked, anytime you organize a massive immunization campaign, anytime you organize a back-to-school campaign, you organize an hygiene and sanitation promotion campaign, anytime you organize a massive release of children from armed group or detention center, the day those campaigns start mark a turning point into the life of those communities. Those days are usually the day where the community turn the chapter of the suffering they have gone through, of the disaster or the conflict they survive, and open their eyes and look at the future with hope. This is why I have been always saying to my colleagues who are working with me, and I think this is also for the next generation of UNICEF staff to come, one thing we should be doing more is to insist on this dimension. In addition to our ability to provide relief to the most needed communities, we need also to put the focus on our ability to bring back hope, to bring back those communities into their feet. Let me just say it in a very simple word. If you look at today's crisis, you look at the children there, look at the young people, you always say to yourself, if we don't help these children to get back hope where they live, if we don't address the problem they are confronted on a daily basis, words such as peace, stability, or words such as smooth conduct of international relations would not have any meaning for the international community and for human beings. Before I finish, I just wanted to share with you an anecdote. I have recently, 2 months ago, visited a detention center in Maiduguri, which is the capital of the northeast of Nigeria. I have seen there, surprisingly, the detention center was full of children, allegedly associated with Boko Haram. You had in one side mothers with over 200 children who were below 5. They were called bad blood because they are descendants of Boko Haram fighters. You have next to them, in extremely congested cell, adolescents between 12 and 18, introduced to me as active Boko Haram fighters. Of course, when they saw me, they were all raising their hand, and all they wanted was to speak to me. And in fact, they were speaking to me, but in words that I could not understand. And the officer who was accompanying me, of course, would translate only what I wanted to hear or what was politically correct. But when I left that place, I looked back to it and remember the eye of all those children and say to myself, the fear, the anxiety, but also the anger I have read through those children's eye. The stigmatization they are going by being called bloodbath are the most worrying thing that I have seen into this northeast crisis of Nigeria. I have been very blunt and very open when I had a debriefing with the theater commander of the military operations zone. I told him, Major General, probably you will be winning these battles against Boko Haram. You might even win the war against Boko Haram. But from the way I see these children treated, from what I read in these children's eyes, I think while winning the battle against Boko Haram, you are also building the next generation of insurgents. And these words come to memories I had by constantly engaging with the governor of Borno State for the release of those children under detention. He would always tell me, Mohamed, you are right. If we don't deal with these children today, tomorrow they will deal with us. Similarly, I think if today's the international community, to which the private sector is an important segment, don't look at the situation of those children who are in the crisis that I was referring to or that the world is confronted to. If we don't address this, no matter how tough the immigration policy we would put in place will be, no matter how high or how strong the wall we are planning to build will be, but if we don't deal with this crisis today, tomorrow this crisis will deal with us. As I say in the beginning, I don't know if I would be able or I will manage to inspire you, but I say let me take the chance to share a bit of my life experience, share a bit of my life career. But beyond my person, the only reason why I accept to stand in front of you this evening, it is also to use it as an opportunity to celebrate and honor the extraordinary work that UNICEF staff are doing in the most difficult condition. And wanted to take also this opportunity to reiterate the fact that despite the challenges we were talking about, despite the difficult circumstances, we will keep the same level of motivation. We will keep the same level of commitment. We will keep the same level of the determination until we reach the last child who needs our support. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Gerard. Thank you, thank you.
Stay with me, bien.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Merci, Mohamed. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Gérard.
I can tell you it was really aspirational, and I'm not the only one to think that in the room. You have taken us exactly where we should be mentally. I'm not talking about the other reps working in country offices, but the community of the private sector. I think you have taken us where our mind should be every day, every morning when we work, and this is inspiring us to do even more as part of what we call the strategic plan, which are words, but at the end of the day, what we will do is to support you and your colleagues in the incredible work that you are doing every day in the most difficult circumstances, bringing hope back to those children. So for this, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if I may, Mohamed, stop doing PowerPoint, stop doing UNICEF-like speeches, do aspirational speeches only in the future. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.